Comic book movies rise and fall with the hype that studios can generate behind them. Sometimes the hype can even start years before their release date. But hype can only take a movie so far. The truth is discovered upon their debut of whether they'll be a smash hit or a dismal failure. With comic book movie hype reaching new levels with platforms like Comic-Con, the more movies are hyped up, the bigger their potential fall. These are 10 movies that did not live up to the hype. Batman v Superman. The first of the two Ben Affleck movies to be on this list is Batman v Superman. Before its release, there were sky-high hopes for this epic battle, but the clash between the brooding Caped Crusader and the Man of Steel left audiences unfulfilled. Even the addition of Superman's nemesis Lex Luthor and the epic intro of Wonder Woman couldn't entice audiences. The movie experienced an 81% decline in attendance by its second weekend. It was one of the most hyped movies in recent memory, with the studio spending hundreds of millions in advertising, only to run into a critical and financial failure compared to their expectations. After receiving generally negative reviews for this and Suicide Squad, we have to wonder how they'll draw people in for their next movies. Green Lantern. Before Ryan Reynolds portrayed the unforgettable Wade Wilson in Deadpool, he played Hal Jordan in The Green Lantern. Despite the immense amount of hype the studio generated for Green Lantern and its generous budget, the movie fell flat on its face, being both a critical and financial failure. Reynolds stated that the script hadn't even been completed prior to casting. Script issues aside, one of the biggest issues with the movie was its less than enthralling villains. And who can forget the animated suit? The heavy use of CGI left moviegoers unable to connect with the Lanterns, Guardians, or villains. Although a lot of the CGI was stunning, it felt overused and definitely didn't make up for the lack of script. Hopefully the eventual Green Lantern reboot will have more success. Catwoman. Starring Halle Berry as one of film's most memorable characters, Catwoman failed in several respects to live up to the title character's history. The initial reaction to Berry being cast as Catwoman was pretty positive, until the first trailers began to air and the critics began to weigh in. Watching the film, it's hard to imagine that the studios had anything in mind for this feature besides putting Halle Berry in leather. The movie lacked story and depth and suffered from poor scripting for the supporting cast and its star alike. Oh god, that basketball scene. During her acceptance speech at the Razzies, she said, "I want to thank Warner Brothers. Thank you for putting me in a piece of shit god-awful movie." The Razzie was awarded to Berry for Worst Actress. Catwoman also took home Razzies for Worst Film, Director, and Screenplay. The Incredible Hulk. When some of the biggest names in Hollywood signed on for the Incredible Hulk reboot in 2008, expectations were high. Edward Norton gave us hope that there could be a depth to the character not previously seen. But a weak script let down the audience so much that even the incredible action, loads of stars, and amazing special effects couldn't save the Incredible Hulk from losing nearly half its audience size in its second week in theaters, even though it didn't lose any screens. Though reviewers were kinder than the audience, the Incredible Hulk resulted in yet another flop for the big green Marvel machine. Maybe feature solo movies aren't the best place for the Hulk? The Amazing Spider-Man 2. With the success of the first film, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a lot to live up to. However, with a plot that was too busy and an underdeveloped storyline, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 shot for a building too far away, and instead of swinging into box office glory, it ended up flat on its face on the pavement. While eventually achieving moderate financial success, it underperformed to the studio's expectations of $1 billion. The lackluster reception to this sequel led to the studio killing off the two other planned sequels. Sony had been hoping that with the reboot of their only Marvel asset, they would be able to bring in a lot of views. However, it seems that people simply grew tired of watching Spider-Man begin rather than Spider-Man evolve. Marvel is banking that with his addition to the MCU, Spidey's next movie will be more enthralling. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance made its debut hoping to build upon the minor success of the first film. Unfortunately, upon release, it stumbled under the weight of heavy criticism. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a score of 17%, with the critic consensus of, with a weak script, uneven CG work, and a Nick Cage performance so predictably loony it's no longer amusing, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance aims to be trashy fun but ends up as plain trash. Cage also received a nomination for the Razzies as Worst Actor in a movie rife with criticisms. Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four reboot, while looking mildly promising in trailers, flopped hard when it debuted. Failing in the box office and with critics, this new take on the Marvel crew picked up 3 Razzies, including a tie for Worst Picture. It looks like the studio must have known the future of the movie before its release, because its tiny advertising budget compared to many other blockbusters around the same time made the movie almost as invisible as Kate Mara and her terrible blonde wig. Fantastic Four was so bad that there are rumors it potentially killed off the Fantastic Four franchise for good. X-Men Apocalypse. As the 9th installment in the X-Men franchise, including Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse had high hopes. And while not a complete failure, it certainly didn't live up to the hype. Falling $30 million behind its predecessor in opening weekend sales, many critics said the movie was too much of the same old storyline. And fans seem to have agreed, as numbers continued to plummet and eventually took in nearly $200 million less than the previous release. Hyped up to be one of the biggest box office releases of the year, it's currently in a disappointing 8th place. Hopefully this will force Marvel to take future X movies in a fresh and new direction. Daredevil. From Blind Crusader to Caped Crusader, it seems like Ben Affleck playing a comic book hero on the silver screen just doesn't click with audiences. While the film was a financial success, it was heavy with Easter eggs and cameos, but too light on scenes that took our breath away. After a fall off of over 50% in audience attendance after the first week, Daredevil barely squeaked into profitability, only thanks to its overseas earnings. Hopefully Ben Affleck will finally find superhero redemption in Justice League. Suicide Squad. Since the Joker last appeared on screen in The Dark Knight, the world nervously waited to see what style of character reboot could possibly match the unforgettable tour de force of Heath Ledger. When rumors of Jared Leto playing the next Joker arose, so did the excitement levels. But when he appeared at the end of the Comic-Con Suicide Squad trailer with a tattooed face, bright green hair, and metal teeth, fans went crazy. Some in a good way, some in a bad way, but everyone was anxious to see more. And so it went for months of trailers, sneak peeks, and craze building. It was easily the most anticipated summer blockbuster of the year, which leads us to the problem. Critics absolutely hated the movie, giving it an abysmal rating on Rotten Tomatoes and calling it bloated, misdirected, and lacking depth. Lots of fans, however, seem to be more forgiving, as their audience rating more than doubled that of the critics. While it didn't live up to what critics expected, that group of fans that absolutely love the movie might be the spark that DC needs to launch their universe to the same scale that Marvel has. So there you have it, our list of movies that just couldn't live up to their hype. Are there any comic book movies that didn't live up to your expectations? Tell us about them in the comments section below and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.